Today we're going to have a look at hash tables and hash functions, and the idea is that we just want to be able to store data and retrieve it quickly. We'll store it in an array, so we'll just make an array to begin with, and we'll have an array of empty elements. Let's have 100 of elements in it. We're going to use a data type called none. It's really nice because it doesn't matter whether you're putting strings or integers or anything. None is its own type, so that's really useful to use. It's its own data type. It's just the value none. Anyway, let's have a look at print a and see what that looks like. So we've got a static array that has 100 elements in it. Now then, we'll start off just with a username. Let's say I've got a website and we're storing usernames and we want them to be unique, for instance. Okay, there's our username, and the idea is that we want to take a string and create a number from it, and that number is going to be the location in the array where we can store the value Dave23. So we'll do something really simple to begin with. We call it a hash value. Hash value equals len of username, and then we'll just print off what we've got. It's useful just to keep printing stuff off when you're testing it out. 6, that looks good, and then we can actually put that in the array. So let's get the array, and I want it at the index 6, which is hash value. And what we're going to store there, it's going to be username. Make sure you're okay with that line, please. Username gets stored in the array called a at the index hash value, and just print off the array so you can see it. Just check you're okay with it, and you can see that Dave23 is in the correct location. The problem with that is that when it comes to creating other usernames or storing more data in, you create that hash value to find out where it's located, you're going to get lots of collisions. There are going to be lots of strings that end up in that place or near it, so that's no good. We need to create a number which is between 0 and 99, but it's fairly uniformly distributed, so we need to try something a little bit more sophisticated than that. So if we say hash value to begin with is equal to 0, and then we'll take each character in the username, so looping through the string, and we'll say that the hash value starts to increase each time. So the hash value is what it was before, except we're just going to add the ASCII value of that particular character. So make sure you know what order is. It's just the ASCII value of a character. You give me a character, I'll give you a number. So we're creating a number here. It's going through each character in the string, calculating its ASCII value, and just keeps adding them up to give our hash value. Let's have a look at that, see if it works. We've got an index out of range error here. You can see why as well. You've got a value of 485. We've only got 100 places in our array, so it's become too big. So this is a really nice little trick you can do with hash functions, and it's just to get it down to a size which is within the limits that you want, and that is to just say hash value is equal to the hash value now becomes the hash value mod 100. That's just giving you the remainder when you divide the number by 100. So if you take 485, divide it by 100, you obviously get 4 remainder 85, so this becomes 85, and that is within the range that you want. So we'll just see if that works, and you can see Dave23 is now in the right position. That's a much better hash function, because when you come to create a string, there's less, a hash value from a string, you're less likely to get collisions. So it's looking a lot better. It's going to be useful for us just to write this as a subroutine. So let's call it, I don't know, hash function. Just going to tab that. We need to send some information to the function, and that's going to be the actual username. And we also, rather than printing the hash value, we're going to return it. We're going to make a function that's just going to return the hash value. So we've got something like that. It doesn't know what this hash value is. It doesn't make sense now because hash value is a local variable, so that's doesn't understand it. But we can say hash function of username. Just see if that makes sense to you. We've got a username, which is a string. We then send it to hash function. It gets picked up here, and it gets converted into a value. So now this whole thing, hash function username, becomes a number, and it's used as an index, a location for the array A where we store username. So that looks as if it's going to work. We'll just run through it, and you can see it does the same thing. Okay, now you've got that, it's going to be really useful just to let's say you're wanting to search for a user to see if that username already exists, and maybe test it out. So if we get a username from the user, so let's just call it name equals input, and then we'll have enter a user name. What we can do is take that name and get its hash value and see if there is anything stored there already. In other words, is it in the table? So let's do a little bit of selection. We'll go if, and what it is that I want to do is I want to take the array and I want to look at a particular location, hash function of name. Let's check that you're okay with that. Name is this string we're entering in. Hash function will convert it into a number, so that gives us a location in the array, and we're going to have a look what's there. And if it was being created, there's going to be something there. If it hasn't been created, then it won't be there. So if that's equal to none, then yeah, that name's not there. So we can say something like print, let's say name is available, and we'll just put something else if it isn't. Else, we'll just print name let's say name already taken. Okay, let's just try it. Not totally sure whether it's going to work. Let's put in something that already exists, which is Dave23. It says Dave is already taken. Let's try it again, and let's just make something up. Julie17. Julie17 is available. Now then, this is the beginning of a program which will store data into a hash table. We've created a hash function which works quite nicely. The only problem is there could be collisions, so there's a lot of work to be done on this, and what we want to do now is to start working on what do we do when there's a collision. So when you start populating this and you look for I don't know, let's say we've got a string and we work out a hash value, but that's already been used, we've got to go to the next available place in the array. And it could be something really simple like, okay, there's something already there that isn't the string that you're trying to store. You maybe just go to the next position in the array and see if that's free and store it there instead. So we've got to be able to deal with collisions, but this is the beginning of it.